Say, Dr. Briefs was saying as Bulma fiddled with some wiring, where'd you come up with the idea for that anti-cell device anyway? I thought it was rather ingenious. Oh, that thing? Bulma grimaced as her finger slipped and a spark jumped up from the machine she was working on. Well, you probably never witnessed it, but Old Man Roshi, and some others, had a technique called the Evil Containment Wave. Did just what it said on the tin. Captured and imprisoned an evil being in a small container. Only problem is, soon the enemies we face have so much evil energy it was impossible to keep them contained. So I came up with a technological equivalent, much more durable, and with the added bonus that once inside I could disintegrate the captured being. Oh, I see. Well, you certainly managed to keep it small, the older scientist remarked. I'd have expected the power source to be enormous. Just a reverse-engineered, localized use of the miniaturizing technology we use in the capsules, Bulma explained. The only problem wasn't with the machine, it was with Cell. Instant bloody transmission. What's a girl supposed to do? Gohan was enjoying space travel. He could leave his tail unconcealed, for one thing, and he got to spend a lot of time with Kuriza and Videl, his two best friends. Having only just got up for the day, he slouched over to Zarbon, who was at the helm. So, what planet are we heading for first? Although it was nominally Gohan's expedition, he deferred to Bulma's maps, and Zarbon and Kuriza's experience, on matters such as these. Well, it's no use blundering around in the dark, Zarbon replied. I'm taking us to the business capital of what used to be Frieza's empire, though who knows what state it's in. We used to call it Planet Frieza 17, but I'm sure they've come up with something more imaginative now. He yawned. It'll be interesting to find out who's risen to fill the power vacuum the Frost Demons left behind. Maybe even more of their race, although I hope not. Well, wherever it is, with you around we've got nothing to worry about, right? Yeah, I guess. Gohan nodded. He wasn't always comfortable with his status as far as he knew, the second strongest being in the universe, but his powers were a fact of life, and often very useful. Well, we'll be able to get detailed answers once we land and can ask around, face to face. But for now, this ought to suffice. He tapped a few buttons, bringing up a holographic display, dozens of screens forming a 180-degree semicircle around the Earth convert's head. We're now in range of galactic news stations. I've asked to have this feature custom installed, he said, indicating the dizzying array of news channels surrounding him. Huh? Why? Gohan squinted at the multilingual buzz. Although there is a certain manner of speech that immediately distinguishes a news anchor, no matter their language or species. How can you understand all that at once? It's an ability of my race, Zarbon answered, closing his eyes and breathing in deeply. To take in and process every bit of sensory information that we receive at one time, comprehend it, and store it. Most of the time, you only store about 5% of the sensory information you receive, and most of that is quickly forgotten. His body felt completely still as certain neural pathways were activated, releasing certain hormones into his bloodstream, dramatically altering the function of his sensory organs. It can only be used in a state of perfect calm. We call it deep sight. His eyes opened, and he saw. The thing he wanted to find out was what, exactly, all the news anchors were saying, simultaneously to get a complete picture of galactic current events. But when you saw everything. No filtering anything out, consciously or unconsciously. He saw and remembered every fleck of spittle in every reporter's mouth, every screw in every table, the subtle pattern on one anchor's neck that indicated the onset of a certain virulent disease. He saw the single strand of hair falling in front of his face, saw the way the light silhouetted it in the center of his left eye's field of vision, took in its exact shade of purple pink. He saw the dust on the floor, the way it rippled and flowed slightly due to air currents caused by ventilation systems. Peripheral vision, too. He saw Gohan's arm poking into its field of vision, noted and involuntarily recorded every curve of muscle, every fold in the fabric of his shirt. He could see out of the viewport, too, and he knew now that there were 358 stars in his field of vision, some barely visible patches of blurred light, some shining pinpoints against the blackness of space. It wasn't just sight, of course. It was sight. And that meant all senses. He had, of course, used it primarily for hearing, to be able to separate out, identify, and memorize the streams of conversation of dozens of news anchors simultaneously, while mentally translating them. This he did, as well as noticing the slight crackle, indicating a slightly distorted signal. And based on this data, he near instantaneously performed calculations and deduced how far each transmitting station was from his current location. He heard his own breathing, and Gohan's. His heartbeat was close enough that he heard that too. He heard air currents, again caused by ventilation, and the creaking of a door on the other side of the ship as Kuriza moved around. Vidal's footfalls had a slightly different quality of sound, due to the material of her shoes being more conducive to echoes than Kuriza's bare feet. It didn't end there. He could feel his clothes resting on his body, the air gently brushing by him, the pressure his own feet exerted on the floor. He was even dimly aware of the pull of the ship's artificial gravity. He could smell the very chemicals within his body that fueled the deep sight, which mingled with his natural scent, and those of human, Saiyan, and Frost Demon, and the slight hint of food. Perhaps Kuriza was raiding the freezer? He could taste the remnants of his breakfast hours ago, almost hidden under the fluoride compounds he'd cleaned his mouth out with afterwards. In short, it was overwhelming, or it would have been without the proper training. All this data, this immense input, had flooded his mind in just the first second, and he planned to continue seeing for perhaps an hour. This required an intense juggling act on his mind's part. When using deep sight, the normal short-term, long-term memory boundary was destroyed, and all data fast-tracked to the long-term store. This could be troublesome later when trying to extract meaningful information from the vast amount of clutter. So, he had to simultaneously continue seeing, and manually, consciously jettison all unnecessary information. It was not entirely unlike panning for gold in a tsunami. Gohan, seeing Zarbon zone out as he concentrated intensely on this task, absorbing the stream of news that was meaningless babble to the half-Saiyan, decided to leave his companion to it, and wandered back into the living quarters of the ship. Well, Zarbon addressed the occupants of the eating area as he entered. Kuriza was sprawled over the top of the table, Videl was hovering near the ceiling and reading a magazine, and Gohan was wolfing down his third bowl of cereal. None of them ever washed up, of course. Sometimes Zarbon felt like a babysitter. I've taken a look. Or a look, as you might say. And here's the state of the galaxy right now. After the Cold Dynasty fell, the Empire splintered. Generals, warlords, and politicians all tried to cling onto whatever territory they controlled. And for a year or so, communication between these quasi-military states was almost nil. Then, the secluded systems just sort of fell apart. The people were all against isolation, and the leaders couldn't hold them all in check. A fair government of sorts, not elected, but held in check by an elected Council of Representatives, emerged, and for a while things worked fairly well. Then recently, a terrorist strike at the heart of the government took out every major leading figure at once. What's interesting is the perpetrator, one Prince Vegeta, did not then seize power, but vanished and hasn't been seen since. In his place, a new breed of warlords has emerged. Isolation hasn't come back into force, that's sure to incite another popular uprising. So they've mostly settled into their territories now, with occasional skirmishes moving the border back and forth a system or two. So does that affect our destination? Videl asked. Not our first stop, no, Zarbon said. We still need to dock somewhere, maybe pick up supplies. I'll ask around and see if any of my old contacts are still alive. The planet's been renamed, as I suspect. It's now Nemea. The political situation is interesting, to say the least. He tapped into the memorized data in his mind, expanding the section on the planet's rulership. It's divided, roughly, into northern and southern hemispheres. The interesting part is this. The north is ruled by a Saiyan tyrant, the south by a Namekian one. Come again? Gohan looked Zarbon in the eye. The phrase Namekian tyrant just doesn't seem right, for one thing. I thought they were a peaceful race. In fact, I didn't think they traveled off-planet at all. And a Saiyan? Videl asked. There are only a few left alive, right? So is it one you've met before? One at a time! Zarbon held up his hands for silence, then continued. Alright. The Saiyan. No, it isn't one we've seen. Goku, Raditz, Vegeta, and Nappa were all on missions when their planets went up in flames. And Broly and Paragus escaped thanks to the power of the legendary Super Saiyan. But it's reasonable that one or two might have been off-planet. But off the record, too, for one reason or another. He scratched his head. As for the Namekian, I don't know. The only selfish or evil one we've ever encountered was Piccolo. From what I gather, he made his own attempt at world domination before I met any of you. But he was a special case, I believe. Kami created him as a manifestation of the evil in his heart. That doesn't seem like the kind of thing that happens too often. But by all accounts, this Namek is as bad as the Saiyan. Right. Gohan shrugged. Well, we'll find out when we get there. How long? 20 minutes or so. While you probably won't find any of those exotic fighting techniques you're hoping to run into, this world's populated by a whole mix of races, so you should find plenty of stuff on alien culture for your book. Gohan brightened up. Cool! I'll get my stuff together. He stood up, heading for the door. Kuriza stood, rolling off the table but reflexively activating his flight, hovering at table height as he rubbed his eyes, slowly waking up. Hey, everybody! So, where are we going? Turles, sir. Our forces are moving again. They're massing in the eastern capital, the soldier reported. Turles, reclining in his custom-made throne, grunted. I don't care. Just send our own troops to do the same. They'll back off, and the cat-and-mouse game will continue. But sir! The soldier protested. If we launch an attack to the west, we could outflank— Are you questioning me?! Turles snarled, involuntarily throwing out a wave of force as his muscles tensed, shaking the walls of the palace. The unfortunate, low-level servant was smashed to a bloody pulp against the floor, every bone in his body shattered. Turles took a deep breath. I've got to get control. Control. It's the fruit! The damn fruit! I can't not eat it. The power's overwhelming. It makes me unstoppable, but sometimes I feel like it's not my power I'm using. It's so hard to control it, not to destroy everything around me. Still, just a little longer. A little longer. The tree is almost ready. I've measured that green bastard's power from afar, and I know with just one more fruit, I'll be able to crush him. Finally, I'll have this damn planet to myself. He sighed, glancing at the puddle that was formerly his soldier. Somebody clean this up! Try it again, Zarbon said, one eyebrow raised. Only this time, when you open your mouth, try saying something that makes sense. Didn't you hear me? The soldier growled, gesturing with its laser rifle, as the 5 others behind him did the same. We're commandeering your ship for Lord Turles' fleet. It's a tax, you hear? Now stand aside! No. Zarbon folded his arms, standing resolutely on the docking ramp. We just docked here. We're not caving into a bunch of common thieves. Even government-sponsored common thieves. Why, you? The thug grimaced, tapping his scouter. After a few seconds of analyzing the threat, it bleeped. The soldier grinned. Power level is only 500. Not your day, is it? Low power level, outnumbered 5 to 1. Ship just begging to be stolen. And wearing that stupid pink shirt to top it all off. Silence fell. Zarbon took a deep breath. Calm. Calm. Keep calm. Nope. What? 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 What did you say about my shirt? Oh. Is that it? He laughed. You're really pissed off now, aren't you? Well, come on! It looks ridiculous! Stop talking now. Zarbon's fists clenched. I'm going to have to hurt you if you keep talking. Oh, what? What are you going to do, Mr. 500 power level and no fashion sense to boot! Perhaps if his internal organs hadn't just been ruptured by Zarbon's foot, the soldier would have found it ironic how a shoe traveling at supersonic speeds had collided with his midsection right as he said the word boot. But of course he didn't, due to aforementioned ruptured internal organs. Emitting a faintly pathetic squeak, the soldier folded up and dropped to the floor. Zarbon landed, looking around at the other 5, wondering who would make the first move. What the hell? A short, scaly creature to his left shrieked, furiously tapping its scouter. It's no lie! His power level's only 500! Callie's was twice that! How'd this guy get the drop on him? Zarbon sighed, tilting his head. Is it such a stretch of the imagination that your scouter doesn't tell the whole story? Honestly, people rely on them too much. Shut up! The second trooper hissed, raising its customized souped-up rifle and firing a supercharged shot. You took Callie by surprise, that's all! Did I? Zarbon's hand shot up, and he caught the blast in midair, not even taking a scratch from the impact. What the? The alien soldier backed off a step, trembling. I built this weapon myself! Shots as strong as a 3,000 power! Guys, what's going on? I don't know, the third soldier muttered. I'm still getting 500 here. It's so weird. Nods of agreement came from the other 3. You fools, Zarbon chuckled. Battle power can easily change. What? Without a word, the former servant of Frieza sent a rush of power flowing through his body. It didn't appear to take any considerable effort on his part. He wouldn't need to power up to anywhere near his maximum. Those are old model scouters. Their maximum tolerance is about 24,000 or so. I'll just use about that much. With no further ceremony, he did just that, rewarded with 5 small explosions as the scouters detonated, their tolerance circuits overloading. As one, the soldiers began to edge away. Zarbon cracked his knuckles, taking a step forwards. Now, I'm about to show you why the color of a man's shirt is none of your damn business. Also, the whole daylight robbery thing. Gohan, Videl, and Kuriza descended the round ship's boarding ramp, Gohan waving to Zarbon. Hey, you get a pass or permit or whatever it is we needed? Zarbon indicated the pile of bruised, uniformed bodies behind him. Well, they seem okay with it, so I guess I did. Right. Who exactly are they? He tried to think of the most appropriate Earth analog. The local Gestapo. We had a disagreement. What about? Videl asked. Oh, various things. The definition of a tax, the reliability of outdated technology, the politeness of waving guns in one's face, the color pink. Don't worry about it. I think they've come around. Let's just get going. The Northern Hemisphere's western capital is a couple of miles from here. There's a maglev line there, but we can fly faster. All right. Kuriza licked his lips. Let's find a marketplace there. I'm starving. It's starving? Gohan snapped. You already ate more than the 3 of us combined. Are you ever full? Zarbon massaged his forehead. Good lord, I am babysitting. Okay then. I said I'd give an explanation as to why Zarbon never used deep sight in canon. Yes, I know the real reason is Akira Toriyama never came up with it, but he barely gave us any details on Zarbon's race, so I can't just go on canon. Basically, the only time it had ever been useful in canon DBZ was when he was searching for Vegeta, after Vegeta escaped Frieza's ship. He'd have been able to search the whole area in an instant. But to use deep sight, you have to be in a state of total, perfect calm. He wasn't, especially with Frieza threatening to kill him if he failed. So, our heroes are crossing paths with Turles and some as yet unnamed Namekian warlord. I wonder who that could be. Anyway, the views are now over 100,000, and favorites and follows are approaching 200 each, and to mention the 600 plus reviews and a few group/communities have deemed this good enough to be included, which is pretty awesome. Thanks everybody for continuing to support this story, responding positively, and when needed giving me constructive criticism. I've overhauled whole plot lines and casual remarks by reviewers. Don't ask me which, I can't remember. That's it for Chapter 45, Scum and Villainy. Tune in in a few seconds. We'll get started on Chapter 46. Gohan gazed around him. On the whole, the city was not entirely unlike some he'd visited on Earth. The only noticeable differences being that the technology was generally of a higher standard, and the blend of species gave the crowds a strange and varied appearance. This in particular was a good thing. Gohan had initially wondered that his orange uniform and Kurisa's disguise, long gray robes, and a cross-pattern face concealing mask, which made his eyes look like eerie red dots of light under his hood. Any relative of Frieza's would be sure to make a scene just by showing their face, would make them stand out. But they weren't the strangest sights on the street. Not by a long shot. So, is it always this busy? Videl asked as a small lizard-like creature pushed its way between her and Gohan. It's a bit quiet, actually. Zarbon replied, ducking under a low-flying jet bike. I beg to differ. Gohan muttered. You say that. Zarbon gestured around them. I don't mean there's less people. Just look. Everyone's just trying to get from A to B as quickly as possible. Heads down, shuffling, almost no talking. Last time I was here, there were street vendors on every corner, flashing news screens overhead, shouted conversations halfway down the street. Everyone just seems so dull. Depressed even. More so even than under Frieza. Huh. I would have thought living in Frieza's empire would be pretty depressing. You'd think so. And in most places, yes. But he rarely ever came here or sent any kind of serious garrison to occupy it or defend it. That low military presence is actually why it became such a cultural nexus in the first place. Is this Saiyan ruler really that much worse, I wonder? Not worse, Kuriza chipped in. Just closer. More obvious. What I wonder is if the Namekian ruler on the other side of the planet is as bad as this. Hold up. Zarbon put his arm out to stop them. Don't get any closer, but something's happening up there. He indicated a spot, 100 yards or so up the street, where commotion was occurring. An armored figure was dragging a pair of civilians down the road, one held by the neck in each hand. Looks like we're about to see how this Saiyan runs his territory firsthand. The tall, swaggering humanoid soldier, sporting dark gray armor and a long ponytail of muted green hair, threw the pair of citizens, a couple of blue fish-like individuals, to the ground in front of him. His jewelry clinked as he tossed his hair over his shoulder, smiling down at them. Now, he said as if talking to a small child, are you aware of the law? That thing standing between order and chaos? He was answered by silent, terrified nods. Then why? He whispered, though the street was so quiet, one collective held breath, that it was impossible not to hear him. Did you feel that you were exempt from it? You know the tax rates, yet you openly, brazenly did business without giving the government its cut. Honestly, he shook his head, looking disappointed. We run half the planet, protect you from harm, organize everything. And this is how you repay us. By cheating us of our hard-earned money? Please! One of the unfortunate victims squeaked. We can't afford the tax! It keeps increasing! We'll starve! And work harder! The soldier growled, kicking the protester in the ribs to an audible crunch. He had a fairly sizable key. All of you! You're only alive thanks to the good graces of Lord Turles. In his infinite kindness, he has elected to let you live for the time being. You are, each and every one of you, in debt to him. To wit, one life. He placed his foot on his second victim's head, applying the slightest bit of force and receiving a terrified whimper. If he demands all your money, all your property, you give it up and be happy. Happy that you're still breathing, that you can earn some more to give to him tomorrow. Understand? Another whimper. I said, do you stop it? Silence fell. The soldier's head turned. Who said that? He demanded, stepping off his victim and stalking forwards as the crowd parted before him. Come forwards, or I'll start blasting this crowd. There was no need for threats. The second parting appeared as Gohan stormed up to him. You leave these people alone! Huh? The soldier sniffed. What's it to you, kid? Just stop hurting them! The half-breed's eyes narrowed. Now leave before I have to do this the hard way. The man, easily twice Gohan's height, rolled his eyes. You're threatening me. This is actually... You are actually threatening me. That's good. He grinned. That's real good, kid. I don't know. Maybe you aren't completely crazy standing up to me. Maybe you're some super strong mutant or warrior species. But you're looking at Lord Turles' right-hand man. The name's Days. You may have heard of me. Lone survivor of the Kaboka massacre. Trust me, you don't want any of what I've got. Gohan's expression didn't change. You can't beat me. Don't make me prove it. I don't want to start a fight. Just leave. Days seemed to lose interest in Gohan, possibly due to the repetitive nature of his threats. Hey. He pointed at the pair of cowering fish people he'd been menacing a minute ago. You know what their problem is. They can't afford to eat. Too many mouths to feed. Without warning, a red energy beam shot from his pointing finger, vaporizing one of the aliens. See? Problem solved. You! Gohan, in the space of a second, had cannoned into Days, grabbing him by the shoulders and slamming him into the wall behind him, cracking the concrete. They weren't doing anything to you! They were totally defenseless! How could you do that to them? What the hell? Days struggled to pull out of Gohan's grip, but his efforts were futile. He threw a kick into the child's stomach, but his foot rebounded painfully with no effect. What's going on? He reached a hand up and managed to tap his scouter, but, unable to cope with Gohan's massive power level, even the newer, reinforced model exploded. No way! These things top out in the 200,000s! But... that means... He went pale, trying harder to pull away. You're a monster! How can a kid be so strong? Shut up! Gohan smacked the babbling soldier across the face with the back of his hand, a sharp blow instantly knocking him out. I'm so tired of people who break down as soon as they aren't the strongest person around! Easily carrying Days over his shoulder, he walked back into the center of the street, dumping the unconscious oppressor on the ground. Does this happen often? He asked the assembled crowd. This violence, this killing. Nervous silence. Answer me! Is it normally like this? Nods, murmured assent. Alright. He left in a burst of super speed, appearing in a back alley next to Zarbon, Kuriza, and Videl. Idiot, Zarbon muttered. You drew too much attention to yourself. We should be keeping a low profile. What was I going to do? Let them die? I don't know. Maybe. It might have been better to take these guys on once we have a better idea of the situation. Don't act rashly. It always leads to trouble. You can't save everybody. Zarbon. It was Videl speaking. The alien turned, surprised to see the harshness on the girl's face. Don't talk like that! At that moment, those people were being hurt. Killed. That's a very serious matter. Don't abstract it. Yeah, Kuriza nodded. It's simple. You stop bad things from happening. Heroes! Zarbon groaned. I'm surrounded by ultras and bloody heroes. Why me? Sir! Amand, Turles' third in command, entered the throne room, saluting formally. Days is down. Dead? Turles assumed, barely concerned at the loss of his most trusted subordinate. He had seemed somewhat detached recently, an effect that increased every time he ate a fruit from the tree. He swung between jaded and uncaring and violent anger. But whatever the side effects, there was no arguing with the results. True to his original aim, Turles was now undoubtedly more powerful than Frieza, whose full power level of 120 million units was made public knowledge after certain documents were unearthed in the chaos following the fall of the Frost Demon Dynasty. Author's note, another piece of data uncovered was an approximation of King Cold's full power, just between 2 and 3 times Frieza's. It was not anything like 10 billion. Bujin is an idiot. Don't know this point, sir. However, before his scouter overloaded, it was trying to read a power level that it couldn't record. and those models can handle over 200,000 units. We've got a serious threat here, sir. Turles shrugged. I guess so. Play the footage. He watched impassively as Diaz's scouter video feed replayed Gohan's furious assault on his huge wall-mounted monitor, right up until Diaz had tried to get an exact fix on his opponent's power level. A Saiyan. Are you sure? Amand asked skeptically. There are many similar-looking species to Saiyans in the universe. Plus, I thought Turles was the only surviving Saiyan. Trust me, I know my race when I see them. The renegade Saiyan said quietly. I wonder if I could recruit this one. Hold on a second. Rewind. Amand did so, almost reaching the beginning of the footage. Keep going. Keep going. There. Look. Back left, ducking into the alley. Zoom in. Sir? Who is it? Amand asked, perplexed. The muscular brute of Turles' squad, he was not accustomed to thinking too much. It was usually Diaz's role. Not sure, but he's familiar. Turles tapped his forehead. Run a face match or something. See if it's somebody on file. Amand tentatively tried a button on the console, and by luck more than anything else, activated the face match software, running the image by the planet's database. 12 seconds later, blinking red letters appeared on screen as a file from the database opened. Facial recognition confirmed. 95% match. Turles smiled. Ah, Zarbon. You didn't die in that Namek debacle then. The famous Zarbon and some mysterious Saiyan running around on my planet. This just got interesting. Right as the tree is about to ripen again, no less. You're really doing this? Yes, Gohan nodded. You're actually going to— Zarbon! This government isn't fit to rule. You've seen that already. You're ridiculous. We haven't been here an hour. Just follow my lead. Or wait back at this ship. Up to you. Zarbon rolled his eyes. I don't believe this. I worked for Frieza. I know about irrational decisions. But you're right up there with him. So, you're coming? Yes, he sighed. I can't let you run off alone. The things I'd do for that infernal woman. More trouble than she's worth. You really don't think that, Kuriza said. I really don't think that, Zarbon admitted. Turles! Lord Turles! Amand skidded into the throne room. They're here. The Saiyan Kid, Zarbon, and a couple others. Already? Turles shook his head, clearing his thoughts. Shame. It's too early to go out, really. It's almost evening, sir. Right. Turles almost didn't seem to hear him. Well, get Keiko and Raisin, Lacasse. Was that their names? Sorry, sir. Amand stammered, not having realized Turles would forget so easily. We lost Raisin and Lacasse, remember, sir? The incident on Iconda. Right. In that case, meet them. Get Keiko. I'll be out soon. He stood up, stretching. So much work. It's all so much work. Gohan threw Diaz's body on the ground in front of him, smashing open the great stone gates with a wave of his hand. Turles' palace lay beyond. Originally constructed in anticipation of a visit from Frieza back in his day, it was a labyrinthian Gothic construction, towering spires and gargoyles adorning every crevice. Gohan indicated the unconscious soldier. Is this yours? He called out. Not anymore. Twin blasts of energy shot from the left and right, and Gohan jumped to intercept as they sped straight for Diaz's prone form. This time, the Half Saiyan was prepared for treachery, and he caught both beams, deflecting them harmlessly. You can come out now, he said. I knew you were low, but that was despicable. He's your own comrade. Being defeated like that, he might as well already be dead. You should have killed him when you beat him, said the soldier approaching from Gohan's left. Amand was thick-set, red-skinned, and bore a scar down the left side of his face. His armor was heavily customized, adorned with baggy sashes and flashes of color. I won't murder someone just because they're weaker than me, Gohan insisted. Logic, error. The soldier to Gohan's right whirred. Basic strategy indicates a dead enemy cannot recover and counter-attack. Yet you spared him. This was an incorrect action. Perhaps your cogitation system is faulty. Keiko was a large, intimidating construct of gleaming metal, seemingly molded from great, smooth plates of steel-like substance, with little evidence on the surface of wiring or internal mechanisms. "Where's Turles?" Gohan asked calmly, but no response came. "So, let me guess. We have to go through you first." "That's about it," Amon replied, cracking his knuckles. "Don't bother with that. You go find Turles. I'll take the big guy," Kuriza declared. "I'll get the robot then." Zarbon entered a fighting stance. "Go on ahead, Gohan. We've got this." "Right. Thanks, guys." Videl?" She nodded. "I'll watch your back." "Alright." Gohan turned to face the entrance. "Let's go." Raditz lay in the afterlife's long grass, idly chewing a stalk of it. He liked coming out here sometimes, to be alone. In the middle of this peaceful train of thought, King Kai came hopping up, shattering the silence.
"Hey, Raditz! Raditz! Guess what?"
Raditz sighed, standing up in a leisurely fashion before stretching and yawning like a disturbed cat.
What? You've got an audience with the Grand Kai. He says he'll see you. Do you know what that means? He's the greatest fighting master in the afterlife. Finally, someone who can keep up with you.
Huh. Raditz, rubbing his eyes, began to pay attention. "Oh yeah, I remember. That's good. Well, I can sense 5 Kai energies around here. I guess that'll be the 4 Kais like you and the Grand One. He'll be the biggest power, right?"
Well, yes, but don't just go instant transmission off and leave me here.
The Northern Kai's words were wasted, however, as Raditz did exactly that. The Grand Kai was not what you'd expect from the ruler of the gods of all 4 galaxies. He wore blue jeans and a faded denim jacket, topped off with square lens sunglasses that contrasted his extravagant white beard and mustache combination. As Raditz arrived, he was crouched over his boombox, trying to repair it.
This damn thing.
Raditz looked around at what appeared to be the Supreme Deity's residence, an ornate palace quite at odds with its occupant. Grand Kai?
Huh?
The Grand Kai looked up, overcoming his surprise at his suddenly appearing visitor.
"Oh yeah, that's me. Who's asking?"
"I'm Raditz," the Saiyan replied. "King Kai, North Kai, told me you'd agreed to train me when you heard I'd beaten Paikon, and, well, I've kind of run out of challenging sparring partners and teachers." Casual laughter hadn't always been like him, but the afterlife had lightened him up, giving him a more easygoing view on life, or death.
"Oh yeah, I remember now."
Grand Kai nodded. "Well, alright. This thing," he kicked the faulty boombox for emphasis, "isn't behaving, so I guess there's no time like the present, eh?" "Sounds good to me." "Alright, son." Grand Kai and Raditz stood hovering in the air in a huge round chamber, hundreds of miles across, which had been enchanted to hold dozens of miniature star systems, complete with house-sized stars and car-sized planets. "It's been a while since I've done some serious training or fighting, so let's just see what you've got to start off with. I haven't been paying as much attention as I should have, I think. I wish I at least remembered how strong Paikon was, so I'd have some kind of expectation of what this one would be like. Who knows? Maybe he almost measures up to me." "Okay." Raditz took in a deep breath. "So, just power up to maximum?" "That's about it. Go ahead and transform if you can. I need to see your best." "Right." His breathing became ragged as his power shot up in huge bursts. "Yeah!" The air burned gold as he turned Super Saiyan. He closed his eyes and reached within, bringing his true power to the surface as he ascended to Super Saiyan 2. He smiled, his power surging around him. "Alright, how's this?" "Whoa! What the?" Grand Kai was half a mile away, having been bowled over and sent flying by the force of Raditz's ki. Slowly, he righted himself and floated back over. "You're that strong? You've got to be kidding me." "What?" Raditz looked faintly disappointed as he powered down. Don't tell me I'm even more powerful than you. I'm afraid so, Grand Kai replied sheepishly. Wow, you're really something. Sorry, I don't think there's anything left for me to teach you. Oh. Raditz seemed downcast for a moment, but then brightened up. Well, I'll bet Pycon's training harder than ever to catch up with me. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be a more challenging opponent next time. He nodded. And even if not, I can always try fighting him in a lower form. Although that might be just as easy a win for him as it is for me at full power. Well, whatever. He flew over towards the exit, waving to Grand Kai. See you! Thanks anyway. An hour or so later, King Kai sat in his chambers. That guy. I've never felt a power like that in my life. I've been around for over 50,000 years. Thoughtfully, he padded over to a large crystal set in one wall, placing one hand on it. A direct line to the world above. The sacred world of the Kais, where even he was not permitted to set foot. Hey up there! Anybody home? I am here. A soft-toned voice answered. Is there something you wish to bring to my attention, young one? Yeah, actually. He paused. You know Pycon, West Galaxy, strongest fighter in Otherworld? I am aware of this one, yes. Somebody beat him. And this is relevant how? Champions come and go. The afterlife is not static. Well, this guy, this Saiyan, I believe. He's a lot stronger than Frieza ever was. I'm nothing compared to him. I'm telling you, I've never seen anything as powerful as this in all my millennia. Plus, he was a hero in his life, I'm told. How so? Reformed genocide, strange as that sounds. Turned his whole life around. Saved more people than he ever killed. Went out saving his brother and his adopted planet. I see. Why are you telling me this? Well, that Z sword of yours? What of it? You told me only a truly heroic individual could wield it, and no one's yet been strong enough. Not even you. You're not suggesting this mortal is superior to me, surely? I don't know. I've never seen you at full power. Just take my word for it. This one's different, alright? I'll consider it. For now, I must depart. Duty calls. You still on that witch hunt? Wizard, actually. But yes. I must find Babidi soon. He must not succeed. I understand. Good luck. The connection broke, and Grand Kai ambled back over to his bed, slumping on it lazily. Well, I'd been thinking recently that I wanted something interesting to happen around here. I guess I got what I asked for. What are we going to do with you, Raditz? My plans for the rest of the Countdown Saga are coming together nicely in my head. I was a little vague on how it all turned out at first, but I think I've pretty much got it figured out now. Also, to the people whose subtle humor is lost on. Yes, it is Lord Slug, I was being sarcastic! No offense. I'm sure you were tired or not thinking too hard or busy or something. Note, Simgur 101, I'm not talking about you. I acknowledge that you were also being sarcastic. Just to make sure that's clear. Alright, and that's it for Chapter 46. We got time for one more. Chapter 47 will commence in just a few seconds. Stay tuned. Gohan and Videl walk slowly through the main hallway, every step echoing off the stone like the crash of an enormous drum, the effect accentuated by the extravagant acoustics of the otherwise silent building. Gargoyles leered down at them at every corner. Shafts of daylight from 5-meter-tall windows pierced the ever-present darkness. And oddly enough, for such a recently constructed building, there were no electric lights to be seen anywhere. Can you feel that? Gohan asked. Right. Videl nodded. That giant key. Must be Turles. The energy signature seemed strange. Almost artificial. You sure you can take this guy, Gohan? I'm pretty sure, Gohan replied. I don't think he's a Super Saiyan. It doesn't feel like it. But if not, I have no idea how he's so strong. Well, we'll find out soon. Videl trailed off as they approached a huge set of double doors, engraved with a mess of tiny, intricate carvings, depicting countless scenes of tailed, horned figures reaping mass destruction. Gohan raised his hand to push the door open, when without warning it exploded outwards, launching slabs of high-speed debris at the two of them. Zarbon backflipped away, hand springing off the ground as a missile exploded where he'd been, seconds before. What is this? He wondered, ducking to the right to avoid a jackhammer-like punch that shattered a pillar next to his head. I've never seen any technology produce a machine capable of keeping up with a fighter like me. This is interesting. The robotic creature Keiko lunged again, and Zarbon retreated out of its punching range. However, compartments on its back flipped open as it moved, revealing hidden jets that rocketed it forwards. Unprepared for this sudden burst of speed, Zarbon failed to raise his guard in time, and the glistening metal fist cracked into his jaw, sending him reeling back. Recovering his senses, he moved with the force of the blow, spinning away from Keiko and throwing a quick energy bolt as he turned. Keiko quickly crossed its arms in front of its face, blocking the blast with only mild scorch marks. The brief time it took to do this gave Zarbon the opening to hammer his elbow up into a join between armor plates, knocking it through a wall. Zarbon rubbed a bruise on his chin. You hit pretty hard. He noticed as Keiko emerged, unfazed, from the rubble. You're probably programmed to just kill everything in your way, right? I mean, there's no point in reasoning with you. He received another missile in response. I see. He continued, kicking it out of its flight path, sending it careening into the ground several meters away, where it detonated. I'll take that as a no. That's fine. I was never good at the peaceful option anyway. Kuriza nonchalantly dodged Amon's red ki blast, landing atop a precipice a few meters above the ground, his form-concealing cloak swaying around him. Are you done yet? He asked. Stared! Still! Amon gasped, exhausted after having chased the disguised Frost Demon around for several minutes now. Damn it! He furiously hammered the button on his scouter, but it displayed Kurisa's power level as only 2,000, the same as last time. How are you doing that? There's no way you can outrun me if you're that weak! Kuriza shrugged. Just a technique I picked up. Now, can you stop trying to kill me? I mean, we know you aren't going to succeed, so we could just save both of us some effort and go do something else while Gohan talks to your leader. Because, honestly, I'm getting bored. You're... what? Amon spluttered. I'm... Didn't you hear me or something? Kuriza scratched his head. I'm bored. Fighting you is boring. You just sort of flail around at the air where I was a few seconds ago while I dodge very slowly. Why, you? Amon hissed. Don't you mock me! He jumped at Kuriza, swinging an uncoordinated fist. The adolescent powerhouse caught it nonchalantly, yawning. See? I don't just have to dodge either. I can mix it up if I like. He blocked a low kick with his shin. Really? You're still trying that? You must have some kind of memory problem, or I'm not sure why you thought it'd work the 300th time you tried. I'll teach you! Amon was cut off as Kuriza flung his ki outwards, cracking the walls on either side, and hurling Amon away from him. Well, are you happy now? What shall I do now? Kuriza wondered. I guess I could just take him down, but I might not get to fight anybody else for a while. I could power up and break his scouter, but we've all seen that routine before, and I don't think that'd really surprise him at this point anyway. What to do? Hey! Just who the hell are you people anyway? Amon demanded, dusting himself off. Zarbon? A Saiyan? That's a weird combination. Where do you fit in? You think that's weird, huh? Kuriza chuckled. Say, there's an idea. You haven't seen anything yet, my friend. Ripping off his mask, he lowered his hood. Well, if it isn't the handsome devil from your history books. Sure. Amon took a step back, trembling. You're Kuriza! The Prince... Frieza's heir! You're dead! They said the Super Saiyan killed you! Kuriza smiled. Quite the opposite, actually. He saved me. Oh, and I wouldn't refer to the Super Saiyan in the singular. There's quite a few running around now. In fact, I'll let you in on a little secret. One of them's on his way to see your boss right now. The kid! Right. He's the first, you know. The first? Amon looked puzzled.
The first of what?
The first of a new breed. The galaxy is changing. Kuriza's eyes narrowed. You saw it after the Cold Dynasty. My family's empire collapsed. They actually set up a democracy. A democracy! In this galaxy. Vegeta set things back, but you can't stop it. People like Gohan will always come. Turles and his kind have just been going through the motions, clinging to the old routines, thinking they can be the next Frieza. But that age is gone now. He took a step forwards, his tail lashing menacingly against the floor, leaving impact craters. The people have tasted freedom, and they're not going to give it up without a fight.
They already have.
Amon snorted.
Or didn't you see how we run things here?
Maybe. But if it wasn't us today, it'd be someone else tomorrow. A government like this can't last forever. And... Kuriza tilted his head to the side as a shockwave rocked the palace. I don't know about you, but that sounds kind of like your regime collapsing.
But...
Midway through his sentence, Amon was silenced as Kuriza lunged forwards, ramming his knee into the burly soldier's face, dropping him instantly. Kuriza settled to the ground.
Why is everybody so fragile?
Raditz was bench pressing a relatively small but surprisingly heavy block of super dense stasis compressed neutron star material Kinkai had magically fabricated for him when the pair of strangers appeared. It took him a few minutes to notice them, so focused he was on lifting the monumental weight. Finally, he registered the figures in the corner of his eye. Sighing, he heaved the weight over onto the ground, then powered down as he stood, sweat bucketing down his face and arms. One of the strangers was short, pink-skinned, and bearing the pointed ears and general appearance of a Kai. However, he seemed more humanoid in his proportions than most of them. The northern Kai, for instance, was somewhat round. He wore strange, outlandish clothing, a darker blue with red trim that accentuated his skin, replete with poofy shoulders, small yellow earrings, and a style not entirely unlike a white Mohican gone mad. The second, standing slightly behind the first, was taller and bulkier, with more sensible hair, red skin, and a face creased with worry, a contrast to the first's self-confident smirk, and a red-orange color scheme on his outfit, but appeared to be of the same race, or at least similar. Raditz? The shorter of the two asked in a soft, pleasant voice. Yes? Raditz hazarded. Greetings. The mysterious visitor responded, his smile widening. I've been told you're quite the fighter. Well, I guess. Raditz shrugged. Sorry if this is rude, but who exactly are you?
Do not address the Kaioshin in such a manner!
The larger one burst out, but the smaller one raised a calming hand. Calm yourself, Kibito. He did not know who he was addressing. He turned back to Raditz. As my servant just informed you, in his own way, I'm the Kaioshin, the Supreme Kai. Supreme Kai? Raditz scratched his head. Is that like the Grand Kai? Not at all. The Kaioshins reside on the sacred world of the Kais, above even this higher realm. Well, they did once. Now there is only me. He shook his head, trying to stay focused. Even the Grand Kai answers to me. I'm honored, Kaioshin. Raditz bowed awkwardly. He'd had to grovel for Vegeta and Frieza and the like before, of course, but had never been sincere. The only person to ever truly command his respect had been Goku, who had never demanded it. You're probably wondering the reason for my visit, Kaioshin continued. It had crossed my mind, I'll admit. Well, there exists a weapon. A great and legendary weapon known as the Z-Sword. It is embedded in a rock on the sacred world of the Kais and held there by powerful magics. None remember now how it got there or where it came from, not even I with all my millions of years. But the legend goes that the one who can pull it up from its prison will be able to access its powers, becoming a truly mighty warrior. Can I guess that this is where I come in? Raditz asked, indicating himself. Indeed. Kaioshin nodded. Try as they might, no Kaioshin has ever been able to pull it out, myself included.
Sir!
Kibito grumbled.
Surely you don't think this mortal can be more powerful than you? The Supreme Kai, the Lord of Lords. It's absurd.
Kaioshin inclined his head slightly. Perhaps it is. Raditz, let me tell you this. The monster Frieza, who oppressed you for half of your life, the terror of the universe. I could slay him with a single blow, Does that impress you? It's not bad, Raditz admitted. But not really, no. I could do that myself, certainly. I might not even need to transform. If I did, it would certainly be overkill anyway. Interesting. Kaioshin turned to Kibito. You see? Perhaps there is hope. Now, Raditz, place your hand on Kibito's shoulder, and he will transport us to the sacred world of the Kais. With a flicker of movement and no ceremony, they were there. Raditz gazed around. The sacred world of the Kais was hilly and grassy, flat plains spreading out for miles on end, then dropping off sharply at jagged cliffs, all dotted with the occasional tree or waterfall. Many moons hung in the sky, all forming perfect, picturesque crescents. What was that? He asked. It didn't feel like instant transmission. Instant transmission? Kaioshin chuckled. Child's play. Kibito is gifted with the technique of instantaneous movement. It's much more efficient. No range limit, no need to lock onto a key signature. Kibito, for his part, didn't seem too pleased. I'm still not sure of the wisdom of bringing a mortal here, sir. Here! I'm aware of the gravity of the situation, Kibito. Kaioshin snapped, betraying his inner tension for the first time. Tread carefully, Raditz. This world is not known as sacred for nothing. Right. Raditz followed Kaioshin and Kibito as they lifted off, heading for a race point a couple miles away. Sounds like it's a big deal, me being allowed to try this. You must have a reason. Indeed. I would not bring you here lightly. Kaioshin frowned. You see, I'm on the hunt for a wizard named Babidi. Millions of years ago, his father Bibidi created the most terrible evil ever to blight the universe. Majin Buu. He paused, remembering time beyond mortal reckoning, the scars still fresh in his ageless mind. One by one, the Kaioshins fell before Buu's fury and its terrible power. Kaioshins? Raditz asked. As in plural? Yes. Kaioshin answered. As above, so below. Once, as with the lesser Kais, there were Kaioshins of the north, south, east, and west, and a grand Kaioshin that ruled over all. But none could stand up to Majin Buu. Soon, only I, the East Kaioshin, remained. Bibidi was finding Buu harder and harder to control, its childlike temper making it prone to attacking its father. So when he had no need for Buu, he would seal it in a magical prison until it was time to wreak destruction on some planet that drew Bibidi's ire for whatever reason. It was while Buu was sealed away that I struck. I slew Bibidi in one of the rare moments when his guard was down. So, you're still after the sun then? Raditz mused as they touched down on the hill. Did he make another Buu, or bring back the old one? Or something? Not yet, thankfully, Kaioshin said. If Buu had been set loose, you'd know about it. There is no force in this universe that can stand up to Majin Buu. But Babidi is gathering his strength. His forces grow in number and he moves in the shadows, always a step ahead of me. Soon he will try to revive Majin Buu. He's been planning it for a long time. I fear some of his servants may be truly mighty warriors as well, which would make a confrontation risky, even if I did track him down. And this is what you need me for? Exactly. However small the possibility of you being superior to me, the Grand Kai spoke highly of you, and I am willing to take the chance. If Babidi's minions are too numerous and powerful for me, or if, heavens forbid, he does manage to release Buu, I will need a worthy ally, one who can wield the Z-sword. He pointed to the left, and Raditz turned. In the center of the raised column of stone, a longsword's hilt and a foot or so of the blade jutted out from the ground. Raditz approached it slowly, reverently. This is it then? If I can pull it out, I'll get its mythical power. Kaioshin nodded. Although, if you are capable of pulling it out, you must already possess incredible strength. Fear not, there is no pressure. Even I, Supreme God of the Universe, could not remove it. I am simply pursuing all avenues in an attempt to gain an advantage over Babidi. Right. Well, I'll do my best. When a god asks you to do something, it's not exactly polite to refuse. Raditz took a deep breath, closing his hands around the hilt. It felt odd, slightly warm, as if some inner heat burned deep within it. Just looks like ordinary rock. I can break rock easily. But Kaioshin did say it was held there by powerful magic, so I better be ready for some resistance. Okay, here goes. His muscles rippled as he began to pull, straining against the embedded blade, but it didn't budge.
You were right. This thing is stuck pretty good.
He braced himself against the ground, trying to force himself upwards with all his strength. He gasped. It's no good. It's not going anywhere. You see? Kibito frowned. I told you this was folly. Even if you could not remove the Z-Sword, what hope did a mere mortal have? I suppose so. Kaioshin agreed, sighing.
Wait just a minute there!
Raditz growled. You interrupted me. It's not going anywhere yet. His eyes snapped open wide as he powered up to Super Saiyan. Renewing his efforts, he was rewarded with a crunch as the feet formed shallow craters in the rock. The Z-Sword vibrated slightly, and Raditz growled.
You're coming out of there!
Kaioshin staggered back. What is this power? It is irrelevant, Kibito muttered. Even the Grand Kaioshin of old could not remove this blade. There's no chance of... Raditz ground his teeth together as he strained against the stubbornly immobile sword. Cracks began to spider out from both the Z-Sword and his feet, which were sinking slightly into the rock as he pushed off against the column.
Can't move! Damn you!
Alright, looks like I need to pull out all the stops. With one final effort, he transformed into his Super Saiyan 2 form, heaving with all his energy against the sword, which finally, painfully slowly, began to move, sliding up out of the rock. Several seconds later, he was finally fully free. With nothing to oppose his pushing force against the ground, Raditz shot up into the air, the shining silver blade clutched between both hands. Panting with exertion, he looked down at Kaioshin and Kibito. Well, how was that? It's incredible, the Supreme Kai marveled. The fabled Z-Sword, the weapon that has resided there since before even I was born. It's finally been freed. It seems I underestimated you, Saiyan, Kibito said with a smile. My sincerest apologies. It seems we have not been following events in the mortal realms as closely as we should. I had no idea a being like you could exist. Yeah, I surprised myself too. So, what's this thing supposed to do? He turned it back and forth in his hand. While he couldn't feel any great mystical power, it was certainly an interesting sensation, holding the weapon. It felt on edge, like a caged animal waiting to strike. I'm afraid I don't know precisely, Kaioshin admitted. The legend is very old, but it is said that one who wields the Z-Sword will attain great power. That's all, really. Well, in any case, Raditz relaxed to his normal state. The sword immediately wrenched his arms as the tip crashed to the ground, almost dragging him with it. Whoa! Oh, it's pretty heavy. Wow, I can barely lift it in base. Maybe that's it, Kibito mused. Perhaps the sword is so difficult to wield, merely training with it forces the user to become stronger. Yes, that might be it, Kaioshin agreed. Of course, perhaps some other magical property will make itself apparent with time. Until then, perhaps you should just train with it. As Kibito said, its weight will make it a challenging exercise. I see, said Raditz, hefting the sword with great difficulty. Kind of like gravity training. Right then. I can just about lift it in base form. So, I won't go Super Saiyan. It'd make it too easy. He looked around. Hey, do you mind if I take this back to Otherworld and train there? I'd feel more comfortable there. By all means, Kaioshin said. Kibito, would you... No need. Raditz touched 2 fingers to his forehead, locking onto Pycon's energy signature and vanishing. Instant transmission again, Kibito muttered. So inefficient. Kaioshin stepped forwards, gazing out into the horizon. With a fighter like that to call upon, one who wields the Z-Sword, no less. When we next encounter Babidi, we will surely know victory. Yes, sir. This time we will wipe out that wizard's cursed line for good. Let's just hope he doesn't succeed in releasing Majin Buu. I fear even our new ally, with all his might, would be no match for that creature. He shivered at the memory. That monster. I pray the universe never sees its like again. This one took a while. Writing became kinda slow, and it took me until Saturday to finish it. Oh, and occasionally, sometimes somebody still refers to me as you guys, or something like that, implying a creative team. Nope, just me. Although I do sometimes get help, but there isn't a co-writer, there isn't an editor, there isn't a separate proofreader, there isn't a T-boy. Say, that's an idea. But seriously, just me. Oh, number 2. For anyone wondering what stasis compressed means, in referral to the neutron star material Raditz was lifting, it's just my shorthand way of saying it was created by magic, so magic is also used to hold it together and stop it rapidly decaying and annihilating all life within several hundred miles, like neutron star material actually would if removed in small quantities from the star. Alright, that is it for Chapter 47. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to Chapters 45, 46, and 47. Next week will be Chapters 48 and 49, and followed by that will be the Chapter 50 special. I'll be having that as a separate video. It encompasses a lot, and it's a little bit of a milestone. I'm finally making it to Chapter 50 soon. I want to thank you all for staying with me throughout this entire series. Your support has really helped out a lot. Anyway, that's enough for now. Do stay tuned for next week. Don't forget to like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Tell your friends. Follow me on Twitter to keep up to date with the show. And as always, I'll see you in the next video. Stay safe. Ginger Powers signing off.